And welcome everybody to the Daily Space Weather. Congratulations on realizing our channel exists. It's the Smash News Network. Least busted. Name and news. We've got some great imagery of the sun as always, and lots more to cover. Let's get to it. Promptly. Here's the sun from the Solar Dynamics Observatory in 131 angstroms. Sunspot 2886 down here. Coronal holes over here. And a new sunspot group possibly forming. It's been trying since yesterday to have ombre. Let's take a look at Lagrange point 5 here, the location of the Stereo A spacecraft, to announce the coronal mass ejection warning. Yes, we are not relaxing the coronal mass ejection warning yet, as we expect more coronal mass ejections in the Earth vicinity. So the Earth vicinity, for you new viewers out there, is this side of the sun. This is the non-Earth side. Earth would be off in this direction from the viewpoint of Stereo A. Let's go back to the diagram real quick. Lagrange point 5, the gravitational equilibrium point, the location of Stereo A, putting Earth off to your right. So we only forecast coronal mass ejections on this side of the sun, not so much on this side, just on this side. And we are continuing to forecast one. We're expecting a little bit more coronal mass ejections, a little bit more coronal mass ejecta to be exiting the solar corona in the earthly vicinity. Here's the colorized magnetogram. You can see this active region up here. It did have ombre yesterday morning. It has ombre again this morning. It's not a named sunspot group yet. This one is. It's only alpha class. The likelihood of major solar flares, not particularly high. So here's some more imagery in 131 angstroms. It's a close-up of the northern hemisphere. How about the southern hemisphere? And we'll also show you a close-up of sunspot 2886. Some more imagery toward the end of the video as well. We always close out with additional solar images. So here's 2886 and 131 angstroms. Here it is in 1700 angstroms. And it's just been stable here. It's only got one umbra. It's pretty decent sized, not too much smaller than the Earth. Fairly comparable in size. And here's a composite view. This is ionized helium and iron, 304 and 171 angstroms. The radial flux has remained at 76 here. 76 solar flux units for the radial flux, the most proportional data set we have to sunspot number when looking at solar activity. There's a one-year chart of that. The black line is the radial flux, the red line is the sunspot number. Let's blast through a whole lot more data. There were some brief periods of geomagnetic unrest yesterday. The NOAA forecast is there showing no incoming space weather. I would expect to see some sort of an uptick in the KP index in the coming days, as there's a very well-defined coronal hole in the southern hemisphere. We'll show you that a little later in the video. First, seismicity. Current seismicity level, moderate. I like the 90-day bar graph here at volcanodiscovery.com. And quite a few quakes around the Ring of Fire here. No major ones, but there's one to talk about at La Palma. Smash Team would already be aware of that. smashomash.com/smashteam. So yeah, some 5 magnitude quakes here. Nothing in the 6 range, it looks like. I'm just going to scroll up the list here. If I miss anything, please leave us a comment. Really not a lot to comment on there. There was a deep quake at the Solomon Islands, a 5.1 at 205 kilometers depth. That would be like a 5.8 if it was at the surface. Something like that. Let's talk about La Palma. La Palma has now seen the largest earthquake that it's seen, a 4.9 magnitude. The largest before that was only a 4.6. And if you follow Volcanos de Canarias on Twitter, you can get all kinds of information that you won't see otherwise. Great information there from Volcanes de Canarias. Here's the volcano discovery page. Volcanoes today. So yeah, La Palma continuing to erupt in a fairly spectacular fashion. The possibility of phreatic, that is steam-doped eruptions, is currently in place. You can find diagrams of the vent system and so on that webpage, volcanodiscovery.com. So the largest seismic event has occurred, and we're all wondering if these are predecessors to larger quakes, or maybe that's the largest quake that'll happen. Ultimately, we don't know. Karimsky is also exploding. That's on the Kamchatka Peninsula, by the way, so it's back on the list, producing a 14,000-foot ash plume. Mount Aso, which is near central Kyushu, Japan, produced a strong explosion, including things like large ballistic projectiles. Please don't stand around the base of volcanoes that are erupting. It could be unhealthful. Lava bombs are not what you want to have hitting you in the head. Subanosejima, flight level 6000, 060 that is, 6,000-foot ash plume from Subanosejima. Manam remains on the list. Low-level plume from flight level 180 to 50,000 feet. Yeah, Mount Manam, a major uptick there at Mount Manam. A 50,000 and 35,000-foot ash plume there. So there you go. There's your biggest volcanic eruption for quite a while. Mount Manam in Papua New Guinea. Popping off big time. 50,000-foot plume of volcanic ash from Mount Manam. Samisa Pochnoi, occasional eruptions in the Aleutian Islands from Samisa Pochnoi. Fuego, volcanic ash not seen in satellite. Don't assume it's not erupting. Nevado del Ruiz, mild explosive activity. No indication on the altitude over Nevado del Ruiz of the ash plume Sangay. Flight level 200 as it explodes. It's producing a 20,000-foot ash plume over Ecuador. Likewise, Ravenador exploding. 15,000-foot ash plume over that same country from Ravenador. Sabancaya exploding. 26,000-foot ash plume from Sabancaya. Nevados de Chilean producing sporadic emissions of volcanic ash. A great reminder to not pole vault the caldera. To visit our links. Use the promo code SHOP EARLY to save big. 20 to 60% site-wide. You can find the links below this video as well as on smashomash.com. On the homepage, just click on SMASHO merch, and you'll be able to find all of these products. Today's featured product is Mensa. Make Earth Not Suck Again. It's up to you to enter the promo code SHOP EARLY to save 20 to 60% site-wide. Links in the description to the Redbubble shop and to smashomash.com. The Mensa Hat. Yeah, I'm all about it, folks. I'm all about it. I'm all about making Earth not suck again. So I'm doing my part by making videos like this one. Help us out by picking up some merch and doing your part to Mensa, make Earth not suck again. There are other links to visit as well below the video. Please visit them. Become a member of the Smash team. And it's just spectacular. So welcome to the Neo-Renaissance. Congratulations on realizing our channel exists. The Smash News Network greatly appreciates all of your comments, likes, subscribes, etc. Cheers. Visit the links. Support the channel. Let's get back into some magnetic data here. Here's a 3-day chart as measured by the GOES 16 and GOES 17, the GOES magnetometers, located at geosynchronous orbits around the equator. There's the past 3 days of GOES magnetometers measurements. Nothing too exciting going on there. Earth is solidly in a South Pole current sheet. North Pole current sheet has been held off for the foreseeable future. Here's the line of sight plot. This is the top view. This is the line of sight. Also shows you the solar magnetogram. Next is the coronal hole line of sight plot, showing the sun's B field. And those blue lines there, those potential field surface source lines, those are the sun's B field lines. And you can see those well-defined coronal holes in the southern hemisphere. We're going to show you a special feature today about those coronal holes. Check it out. We've got multiple days. You can see that South Pole-oriented coronal hole there, rotating into the Earth-facing zone here. Just a great little progression there. Part of the reason why we show the 193 angstrom imagery from the SDO daily. It's really good at showing coronal holes. And this is a well-defined coronal hole. So there you have that. And for you new viewers out there, the two main features that we see on the sun are sunspots and coronal holes. Coronal holes not even known about until the 1990s, when the SOHO spacecraft was launched. Looking at those extreme ultraviolet images. So the likelihood of major solar flares isn't really that high. It's going up to 41% here according to the flare monitor. I would tend to say that that's really old data, and you should just completely ignore that. But we do have sunspot 2886. That was from the 14th. I don't know why I had that on the screen. I just didn't look at the time and date stamps. 2886 not likely to produce major flares. We're keeping an eye on this area up here to see if it becomes 2887. We'll let you know at the end of the video if it had umbra when we were done recording. Only some minor intensifications of the sun's X-ray profile. These are known as solar flares, folks, not to be confused with coronal mass ejections. Solar flares are photons. Coronal mass ejections are protons. Big difference. And here's the proton flux over the past 3 days. No spikes in that. We forecast coronal mass ejections, so you don't have to. So the real-time solar wind here, pretty uneventful over the past 24 hours as well. Current conditions are 389 kilometers per second for the solar wind speed. Solar wind density 12.51 protons per cubic centimeter. There you can see the KP index has been geomagnetic unrest for a few periods here in the past 3 days. Current conditions are a KP of 1, geomagnetic calm conditions. We are expecting a coronal hole wind stream in a couple of days, which could upset all of that calmness. So here's the magnetohydrodynamic pressure modeled by the Space Weather Modeling Framework over the past 4 hours. And we're expecting things to be pretty homogeneous here over the past 4 hours. The Space Weather Modeling Framework agrees, and if you want to know how this data is derived, click on details at the bottom of the Geospace Magnetosphere movies down here. Click on Space Weather Modeling Framework, and it'll tell you the variables used to make the model. Next, ground magnetic perturbation, since there's a scary, spooky, pardon my sarcasm, polar excursion going on. We show ground magnetic perturbations daily. This is 4 hours of data in nanotesla. Also modeled by the Space Weather Modeling Framework. Did you know the South Pole has left the Antarctic continent and is someplace down here? The magnetic pole, someplace down here south of Australia in the Southern Ocean. Yeah. I'm not very frightened of polar excursions, but if you are, leave us a comment. Please don't make a fool of yourself. We will not censor you. But you might be berated, especially if you say something idiotic in the comments. Remember, folks, there are no stupid questions, but there are stupid people. Here's where things are located in the solar system. Mars still looking lonely there on the other side of the sun. I think it's full moon day. Anyway, let's advance this 1 week. And there's where things will be on the 27th. Mercury swinging around to give Mars some company over there on the opposite side of the sun. I'm always interested in what's going on above my head. So I use in-the-sky.org. I face my star chart to the south because I'm currently facing the south. Which direction do you usually face while watching our videos? Let us know in the comments. Anyway, that's where stuff is now. The moon is in a setting mode, as it typically does when it's full around this time of day. Continuing on, to do a brief cosmology segment. Yes. Let's talk about Lucy. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds? Yeah, it's literally, that's what it's named after. Like, I'm not even kidding. This spacecraft, the Lucy spacecraft, is going to encounter some Trojan some Trojan asteroids. So this is the crazy path it's going to take. Going to kind of rendezvous with Jupiter, but not really. Just Jupiterian orbits in order to look at some asteroids up close. So if you've never heard of it, the Lucy mission is literally named after this ancient skeleton that was found. And that ancient skeleton was literally named after the Beatles song Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. I'm not kidding, folks. That is where the naming convention came from. So I'll just let the article scroll here from NASA.gov's website. And the reason we're talking about this is because of the astronomy picture of the day. By the way, it was launched on the 16th, 4 days ago. And the observations will become relevant. Oh, wait a minute. Some gravity assists with Earth in 2024. 2025 rendezvousing with the asteroid belts and so on. Anyway, I'll let the article scroll here so you can read it. And here's the astronomy picture of the day. This is the plasma plume created by Lucy's launch. apod.nasa.gov if you want to read about that. apod.nasa.gov, the astronomy picture of the day. Today's random number is 54, which coincides with an object at the Neil Gehrels Swift Observatory. It's pretty swift to look at hard X-rays, and if you scroll down to number 54, you'll find this object, IGRJ01363 plus 6610, which is a high-mass X-ray binary. There are the hard X-rays from this binary system located in the Milky Way galaxy. Let's take a look at it. Here it is in infrared light from the 2MASS. There is the thermal profile of that high-mass X-ray binary. And let's take a look at some additional wavelengths here. So here it is on pan-stars, multiple bands here, Z and G shown there on pan-stars. Great high-resolution optical survey. Here's more optical imagery from the DSS. There you go. Pretty bright there in optical bands. Here's some great imagery from the XMM Newton in the ultraviolet frequency wavelengths. And last but not least, here's the XMM Newton colorized X-ray imagery there of that object. Once again, that is J01363 plus 6610 high-mass X-ray binary. And there it is in its X-ray spectrum. It's a pretty bright X-ray source. And that's today's cosmology segment. We hope you enjoyed it. It was integrated into the Daily Space Weather video. If you want to see more cosmology segments, there are over 200 of them in our YouTube playlist, youtube.com/smashomash/playlists. Too many electrons surrounding Earth can charge up satellites. We don't see any of that going on. No charging hazards at the moment. Here's the one-year chart of the electron flux, as reported by Solon.info. Here's the 3-day chart of the electron flux as measured by the GOES 16 and 17 using radiography of the F ionosphere layer. So while these are at geosynchronous orbits, they are measuring the electron content at about 300 kilometers of altitude. Here's the forecast model for relativistic electrons, expected to stay flat. I would say these are going to be a little bit lower here when the coronal hole wind stream arrives in about 2 days. Next, we're going to show you the total electron content forecast. It's the electron density between your GPS satellite and your handset. And here is the total electron content forecast. Everything looking fairly normal and organized here. Not real high levels of electron flux. Nothing to write home about. It's relatively unremarkable. What's not unremarkable are the anomalies in the ionosphere, especially north of the African Rift Zone, north of Madagascar. So the next thing we're going to show you is the ionograms, which is for the F ionosphere layer located right about there at 300 kilometers of altitude. It's in many ways the bridge between space and Earth. A lot of vibration going on up there, and what you're looking at here are vibrational frequencies. For instance, those light gray areas, that's 14 million vibrations per second, megahertz. Megahertz being millions of vibrations per second. Quite a lot of high and low frequency anomalies going on here. The area of most anomalous behavior is right here, off the east coast of Africa, north of Madagascar, in the, quote, African Rift Zone, end quote. Another weird spot on the planet. Here's the anomaly map, showing you anomaly in megahertz from the 30-day median. You'll see this point right here. A bunch of different ionospheric anomalies happening right around that same location. So perhaps giving us some insight into things like internal structures inside the planet. We know just about nothing of what's going on inside the Earth at depths deeper than about 15 kilometers. And leave us a comment if you know about the Kola Deep Borehole. It's one of the more interesting facts about what's down there deep in the Earth's crust. Anyway, there's the latest image. That's 9:30 Universal Time. Anomalies continuing there, and large swings in ionospheric frequency above the African Rift Zone. Did you know the Smash News Network, Lee's Busted Name of News, also does meteorology segments? They usually air before the daily space weather videos. And our Smash team members, they all get notifications. So here's the latest El Tide. This is Udaipur, India, rather. Udaipur, India's ground-based solar observatory, part of the National Sunspot Observatory. And you can see sunspot 2886. Let's see if these are sunspots yet. There were some minor umbrae when we did show prep. So here's the latest intensitygram and the latest colorized magnetogram. I think I see sunspots. Maybe not. Certainly 2886 is a sunspot. So for all of you sociopaths out there hoping we have a whole year of 0 sunspot days, sorry, that's a sunspot. Continuing on, and we'll close out the thing with some additional views here. The coronal mass ejection warning remains in effect, folks. We're expecting another rather minor coronal mass ejection in the earthly vicinity. We'll let you know about the trajectory and so on of that once it happens. Once again, congratulations on realizing our channel exists. We'll close out this video with 304 angstroms, the full disk view, from the Solar Dynamics Observatory of El Sol. And I'd like to extend thanks to each one of you viewers. May that solar wind be at your back.